We like other stuff, but not like that.
We're doing pads, it's tough, but you get 15 days, so you guys had a chance to see the bulk of it, so you try to do as much assignment-oriented deal, but you're not hitting, so, and even when you practice too, you practice full go up because you got to stay healthy, so you're trying to be smart in your practice deals, but did you truly make that block? Did you truly make that tackle? But scheme-wise, you're getting assignments and effort and enthusiasm, intensity is a high level. I think we've got a lot of work to do, but we're definitely more mature, which is stamina and strength, and we're gaining on it, but a bunch of work left.
As far as that's concerned, the stamina and everything else, you talked a lot about the buy-in when we met with you last. I mean, how much are you seeing that sort of manifest itself now?
I think good. We've tried to do some things, flipping our team where they're kind of in charge of stuff and policing themselves, and players holding each other to deals and rewarding them and holding them to maybe some negative things when it's not done right. And I think we've got putting some men in places to have a better leadership capacity off the field and in the locker room and workouts and in classroom and off the field settings. So it sounds good, seems good, but till you get some really good adversity, you don't know if it's really good too. So but right now we've got some short-term off the field positive momentum that we will need to keep building on.
What are you looking to see out of these guys the first couple of practices?
Well, what we do, we're doing 3 on the front end. If you did them all on the back end, it either gets a little long or you cram and double up a couple back-to-back days. And in this mode, it's kind of like, Sundays are off, so we'll watch this on Monday and have a lifting day to work on, the strength side of things. And Tuesday, you come back out and practice, and then Wednesday, you lift and clean up those plays, and then Thursday, so it's kind of an every other deal, and every other day deal. So in these first 3 days, you're really just trying to, get them reacclimated thinking football. And you can tell the recall's pretty good, running a boatload of plays and getting around a good way. First 2 days are helmets only. Day 3 will go full pads. It won't be by any means a scrimmage, but it'll be truly a little bit more hitting and contact. Then we come back after spring break with 3 days and get into a couple scrimmages. So the format these first 3 days is just to jumpstart them from the weight side, the winter side, the winter conditioning side into spring ball. We're doing an every other day deal for teaching and recovery, player development, mental development, and we also just didn't want to drag it out in the back end where that last week seems like it takes forever to get here. So we'll do 3, they'll get a break, and then we'll go 4, and they'll work out in a good way, we hope.
You worked a lot. We saw some passing today. You talked about trying to improve the passing game this spring. Is it any concern with 2 quarterbacks? We were kidding. Did you want to put them on a pitch count or protect their rotator cuffs or anything like that? I mean,
well, no, you got
be too much thrown.
Yeah, I don't know. You got tomorrow off. So it's a 3-day-a-week deal. So we'll see. I mean, you always estimate each player has to manage his arm and his strengths and stamina, because no one truly knows what it feels like, how much time he takes to get heated up. So we do our warm-ups. We don't really move on to, okay, are you good? And we ask them. We don't tell them they're good. Like hey, I'm good, or I need a few more. So each player will have to manage himself. I had a few years at Oklahoma when we only had 7 offensive linemen going. We got a couple of nicked up guys, not major, but a couple of guys now. We had 8 offensive linemen going. And you say they get tired, but then when you get every rep, you get a lot better. So they were a lot better by the fall. So the nice deal of 2 guys, last year, you guys were writing that we had too many guys in the rotation. So now you want to say we're dead horse. So what do you want? So it just is what it is. We'll be smart with it and move on. But what it does, it gives them an opportunity to get a lot of plays. And even though Trey's played, Cameron had 1 good junior college year, they both are young, need a lot of work. So in some ways, you can use that as a positive. It just is what it is, too.
What are your early impressions of Cameron?
Good. I mean, he's a smart guy, so to pick up, a lot of things. Of course, they've been, what's different this year is that, 2 days a week, they've been doing that on their own, kind of practicing. So, where the players, this is what we call it, or this is what it is. And he's played a lot of ball, athletic family, so I think, he's kind of throwing the ball as a little kid all his life. So it looked like he handled it well, and but a lot of work to do. As he would probably tell you, he's thinking so much that it's hard for him to be in a good football position, because he's got what's the cover, what's the play, what's the snap count, all that's new to him. So, but I thought day 1 he handled it well, and glad he's here. And I think he'll give us something good to work with.
You pretty much made this point already, but just allowing both of those guys to get comfortable with the system, get comfortable with the new coordinator. I mean, does it help to only have those 2 guys that they're both going to get so many reps and so much opportunity?
That's the positive of it. Now, again, of course, we never go full go long term. You got to keep them healthy. They're both, and I believe Cameron, I think they're both considered sophomores. think. So they're both in the same class with a lot of time. And then, we did have Nate, our signee, here today. His mom did not take the visit, so she's here. And they'll see the game tomorrow. So those will be the three guys in the mix. The new coordinator-wise, there's not significant change, except maybe just some of the emphasis on how you practice and some tweaks on how to run some routes and to get in sync with the timing of the quarterback. And that's just, I think, some of the nuances where Coach Leach and his system, Coach Luttrell being a direct descendant of that family, is probably maybe even a little bit more tuned than I was coming from Oklahoma, where by the time I got there, we were distant cousins. And I had seen it a few guys later. I think, Seth being part. So just some of the things in how it's drilled. You saw some of that pre-practice, putting some bodies in a way to understand how to throw that. And that's, of course, without pads, you don't do a bunch of hitting, so you got to throw the ball more anyway. But that's really a different animal than the way we practiced last year to help get those quarterbacks and receivers a little bit more in sync. And that's day one. You got a boatload of work. Then hopefully they'll carry a lot of that work through summer on their own, and then you got preseason. So that's the uniqueness of those great teams. That quarterback receiver almost fill in the spaces. I use the analogy with a couple of our receivers. It's like basketball. When a lot of those guys played basketball, when the coach calls the play, you're not a freelance guy to run all over the place, but you're also just don't stand there and get covered. You move into voids and zones and where defenders are to find spaces. That doesn't mean all of a sudden the spacing's not right and we're on the wrong side of the court. The receiver the same way running a route. He's got maybe a little bit more freedom to fill space, find space, he and the quarterback working together. And that'll be neat as we go through now and 6 months from now where we at as to make some of those pass runs.
Yeah, you made like the 12 divisions, or 12 units within the team to try to orchestrate a bit more player leadership. Is some of that happening organically now? That you see players leading players, like even on the first day of practice, like that?
So we'll think, but we'll see again. Until you get hit in the face, with some things when it doesn't always go your way. Because right now the kids have worked hard, they're in good shape, they've got a great attitude. So there's even though the winter part of what you do is pretty demanding, and but until you go through and a guy really goes through some adversity is when it'd be nice to see. And part of leading, we've got a young team that's mentoring. Unfortunately, some of our leaders are young, so it's almost they need to be mentored a little bit to be the mentor as we're going through. But so you're trying to take, say, a young offensive lineman like Greg Lewis, and if you're a player leader, also just try to get him on the side like, hey man, this is how we want to do this as far as your off the field responsibilities, your weight room responsibilities, all those kind of things.
What can you talked about Nate being here and Jordan Wallace is here. What can those guys kind of take from this?
Well, the NCAA's got rules like they're not allowed to sit in your meeting, but they can watch practice. So because I think there were some guys that were maybe quote coaching guys before his official first day to report kind of stuff. So there's some guidelines. But to me, I know I go back to when I was a junior and took some of those visits recruiting. It got me more excited to get back and get in the weight room or get to a workout. And so, they will be able to take some things. Nate, here's exactly some things that Coach Johns is working on with quarterbacks that he could get when he's doing some of his drill work. Same deal with Jordan. They got a great setup at Warren Central. I know he's still working with his team. They got that indoor field house. They do a lot of agility work. But maybe he could do some of Coach Eckler's exact bag drills the way this. So, it's just, but I don't know if you get as much as you get maybe a little bit more motivated. Because, when I talk to players when they sign, if your career's a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, you're talking eight half years or semesters or 10. Well, your high school career's done in November, December, whenever. So 1/8 or 1/10 of your career is prior to getting here, and you really don't have a coach because we're limited on what we can do. And even though your high school coach is your coach, he's kind of working on next year's team. So if you don't want to lift, he doesn't chase you around as much. Or if you don't work as hard, it's not as critical to him. So we try to connect with our players on if they want to play early, there's a window of time where they're their individual free agent. And do they max out that time to show up a better product and give us a chance to have a better summer with them?
Who's, in terms of injuries, I guess, who's out for the spring? Who are those guys you got to get a chance
Well, we got
to
like
get back?
Ross and Evans and Charlie Love are coming off knees, but they kind of do certain things and some things they don't. So I don't even know. Even on the back in the spring, risk reward. So you'll see them an individual, but then you'll see when it kind of gets wide open, maybe they pull it aside because they're coming off knees. DeWeese looks good, and he's doing more probably than he should. Just watch him on his own goof around. But he will be held out. Same with David.
All of it? All spring?
Yeah, as far as really truly doing things, as is David Kaminsky, because they weren't operating until, Thanksgiving week.
Right.
So you got December, and 6 months out, it's gonna take you up to May, so they'll get clear about the 1st of June. But watching both those guys move, I've saw the week, say he's got to step over and jump one, and just kind of bounce, like, hey, man, but he wasn't playing, he was just goofing around, they're just a kid being a kid, so, but those two late, Nick Freeland's back kicking, but it's limited what we're doing, so you got Freeland and Ralston and Love we have 5 guys with knees. Those guys will have limited roles, will just be smart, how much they truly get full go, but they're doing more football things. David Kaminsky and Deweese they're doing all the physical lifting, they are running, but they're kind of out of the combative or the change of direction. Matt Perez got a little disc issue this last week with his back, so we're trying to quieten him down. Hopefully we get him after spring break. He was good till about 3-4 days ago and had a little minor deal up, so they've given him a little treatment here deal to see if we can get him. The plan is with spring break coming, we could hold him 3 days. We'll see in 2 weeks. So he didn't go today. Who else we're missing here? Did I miss anybody?
I don't know.
I think it's it.
I guess Mick got a medical. What was his injury, and that's what it was, right?
Well, yeah, just degenerative with a combination of the knee and the back, and which is kind of fighting through it. And and I asked him at the end, and he wasn't sure yet. Did he want to do senior or go with next year's crowd? And I think he didn't feel like he was a part of those seniors, even though at the time he's like, I'm thinking I'm not going to play. So I said, well, there's no rush. We didn't need, scholarship-wise, we had more scholarships than you could give. So it's like, what do you want to do? And but so he's physically with a combination of a knee and then a low back. He's playing a position where you throw your body around a lot and get beat up, and the body just wasn't holding up for him. So everything good?
Yep.
All right, guys, appreciate it.